which is a little video done by somebody named Chris F. This is a video done by Chris F, who is a content creator, and he does great tutorial content covering Street Fighter 6. And he brought up a very fascinating subject matter about why people are not playing Street Fighter 6 and his perspective on why people are not playing Street Fighter 6, the rank match specifically. Even then, the game itself in the West. So let's take a look at his perspective on it. I think it's very valuable, and it's going to be an interesting topic to cover here.
We're going to be talking about the ranked system in Street Fighter 6. And let me just pull this up. Cat Cammy put this thing together, and it's showing the Street Fighter 6 ranked distribution in November 2024, ranked by highest ranked character per player. So
if you don't know who Cat Cammy is I think a Redditor, if I remember correctly, somebody, a community member of the Street Fighter 6 ecosystem who collects data about like most played players, collects data about which top players are using which characters are going to be showing up most frequently during Capcom Cup. This Cat Cammy does a great job of collecting information that informs the community about where the current general direction of the game is by using the data that's available in the game and presenting it to the public. So it's not to say that like whether it's about the balance or whatnot, but it gives us a general vibe check on where the actual community itself feels and is participating in the game, which is very helpful, specifically like rank information, where the general rank population is and all that stuff.
This is the rank of the total player base, not active, just total player base so far. Now let's compare that to the total active player base. So
if we go to this one real quick, this is not important. This shows us the rank of all the characters in the game, meaning you could play, 5 characters and only 2 of them you actually play consistently, and the other 3 characters that you got to master rank, you drop them as soon as you never played them again afterwards. Well, they'll show up on this data. That's not helpful information at all. What matters is the activity of the character that you use. So if this is the total rank of all the characters in the game, it gives us some insight about which characters are being what is the average rank of people that are just kind of like inflating certain ranks. But it's not that big,
So far. Now let's compare that to the total active player base.
Now this is the important one. This is the one that gives us insight into whether or not players are actually playing the game, and not only playing the game, but actually playing the ranked mode with the characters they want to play with. Not using the subs or sides or just getting the character to master rank and then ditching them. Just straight up a character they are playing to grow and get better with.
These are the people who are actually playing the game active in the last month. So this one's a little bit different than before.
That's great. It's great that he referenced that it's within the last month, because it gives us a time frame of how recent it is and how far back it goes. If you went back like 6 or 7 months, it may not be the most reliable information, because a lot happens within 1 month. So within the last month frame gives us a really good time frame of where the general feeling is currently for the player base.
Check out the rankings here. So rookies the lowest at 1.8, iron 4%, bronze 5, silver 9.4, gold 10.7, platinum 24.18, diamond 17.54, and master 26.26.
All right, so right off the bat, if we look at this, what does this tell us right now about the rookie ranks being at less than 2% of the player base? It means that most people that have played the game have not only carried on, but the vast majority of players, or the vast majority of players are obviously in the middle ranks, but it's not actually getting that many new players right now. There's not a lot of new players joining the game that are participating in the game. It's not having a large, I wouldn't say turnover, but more like a large influx of new players coming in to fill in that gap, which is very typical for most video games. Usually it starts off that way with a graph kind of going, slightly lower. In the very beginning of the game's life cycle, it's a downward slope, but as as it progresses, it'll turn upward over a period of time. You know, it'll look like let's get an example here of what it should look like. It would look like this. It's gonna look like this. Early on in a game's life cycle, it's gonna look like this, where it's just a straight drop. And the reason for that is quite simple, is because the player base at this point in time is at its maximum capacity on release date, on launch, and then players will quickly grind up. It may like have a couple spikes here, maybe a spike there, but mostly it's going to keep going downward. But as time goes by, it'll eventually look more like this, where the player base will start to shrink and will slowly grow at the mid ranks, and then it'll begin to drop over a period of time like that till you get to the last ranks, and it should look like a mountain. That's ideally what a rank category should look like. Now, when can you tell that this information is like being a case? If you've ever like been around like competitive gaming, you may have heard of something called rank inflation or rank deflation. When does that occur? That occurs when you see a graph that looks like this, where you have a rank where the players are right here at the beginning, and there's a big influx right here at the mediocre level, or the not mediocre, intermediate level or medium level. There's a drop, and then you get another spike, and then you get a drop, and then you get another spike, and then you finally get a drop. That is rank either inflation or deflation, and the major reason for that is when players are either doing something, abusing a system in the rank system to inflate or deflate their records, and either to get easier matches or to get inflated ranks when it doesn't really reflect their skill level. But either way, there's a flaw in the system design. So right here, as we can see right now, what you can deduce is that this is looking fine, and this is exactly what it's looking like. This is, a little spike here, not too big, but then you get a big spike right here. That is a case of rank inflation. That should not be happening. So something is wrong with the rank system. Now, obviously, there's a dip here, but it's not that big a deal. It's a deviation within the ranks. Those ultimately, you're really looking at this whole category of this entire category of a rank, not just these gold 1, gold 2, gold 3. That doesn't really matter. So that gives us insight.
So now we see a much bigger representation in Master. So comparing this to the one before, where before Platinum was the highest in terms of like overall players. Right now, the people playing now, most of the player base at 26% is at Master, and the second highest rank is going to be Platinum at 24.18. Now, some of you might think this is a good system, but I have my issues with the rank system. And
okay, so real quick, I'm gonna check my audio. I'm gonna make sure that everything's working properly before I make my point across. Okay, everything's working fine. Okay, so I'll let him finish his point, and then I'll introduce my thought.
This is a good system, but I have my issues with the ranked system and this kind of distribution. Capcom deliberately pushes people to Plat 1, then too many people quit. Lower ranks not saturated. Okay, finally, somebody in the chat said it on YouTube. It sucks if you're new and have no one to play with in Bronze. So that's my big issue with this. People quit at Platinum, and they quit at Master. And I think what fighting games really need to work on is trying to retain a player base, kind of like what Idom said right here. The amount of people who got to Master and quit or is unranked is surprising to see.
Yes.
I've always thought fighting games have had bad retention rate, but this is higher than I expected. And how do we retain player?
I'm going to be honest. This is lower than what I expected. It is still, I knew it was very high, but I expected it to be much, much higher than this. Because I know a lot of people, especially if you play like games like Tekken 7, Street Fighter 5, Mortal Kombat X, player retention drops extremely fast in those eras, and the major component of it was due to online infrastructure and stuff like that. There was like failures in the game design itself and not online netcode issues, so that was a contributing factor. But also lack of like meaningful single player content and as well as player engagement. So why is that a common issue in fighting games? Like I mentioned before, single player content, I think that it's something that is very overlooked by developers. I think that there is a way to introduce not only multiplayer components but also single player components as updates. But it's also a major flaw of the current game design currently of making fighting games a live service. And it's not to say that live service is a failed option for fighting games, but currently it's competing with many other live service games. And that is a bit of a problem because those live services that those other competitions provide is far more ambitious and more aggressive about their approach to adding content in the game that keeps you not only addicted to the game but also keeps you coming back. So a lot of players at higher levels think that the rank system is the primary reason of why people are not playing it, and I don't think that is. That said, I kind of agree and disagree at the same time. I think that the rank system itself does exactly what it should be doing, which is getting you hooked on the rank system by making yourself feel good. It should be a cakewalk during these sections right here to get you that dopamine rush of what you're feeling. The problem at hand is that there's not enough ranks. The rank system is way too small. And because of that, by the time that you get to gold rank, you're already halfway done when you really shouldn't be. These early sections of rank growth should be very like newcomer friendly and engaging. I understand that rank needs to reflect player strengths or player skill level, but you also want to make it a progression system that is addicting in some capacity. And so you always want to have like a certain threshold where it kind of hard caps players. And then once they get to that, like that hard cap, the player skill level significantly increases, not significantly increases, but increases it, relatively dramatically. And then there's that actual level of like meaningful play. And I do think the game does what it's intended to do, but I don't think it goes far enough. And we'll talk more about that when he offers his input.
Well, I think Street Fighter 6, Capcom, their mentality was, well, we're going to push people to the higher ranks, to the top 3 ranks, and we're going to kind of like give you win streak bonuses. We're going to let you rank up fairly easily, like compared to other games. And then we're going to boost your ego. We're going to make you think you're really good. And then we're going to push you for the master. And then once you're in master, you're going to push for MR.
And here's the thing, though. It did succeed. The vast majority of people that played the rank, they stuck with it all the way to either plat or master rank. They pushed that far. So it succeeded in exactly what it was intended to do, which was to retain player retention. However, at hand is, this is really, really a short progression. It doesn't take very long to climb up this rank. What they needed was that master rank. Once you get there, it needed to have its own master rank like category, which is what MR is supposed to be. But then it should have at least like 6 or 7 more ranks, where the moment you hit master rank, you are now in a separate league. And then now you have 7 more ranks to climb that are divided in its own categories. Yes, will it further divide the player base? Yes, but as soon as you hit master rank, everyone's pooled together again. So the matchmaking system will pull you back together, but it'll try to use these new 7 ranks to distribute where you're at. So that way you get hooked during your initial investment time, and the moment you hit master rank, you should be invested towards that. Now, many people would say that the MR system does exactly that, but the issue at hand is that the MR system doesn't feed that progression, like addiction feeling. It doesn't have that good feeling of a bar going up. Instead, it's got like a couple numbers that go up, which doesn't feel very invigorating and feel very addicting. I don't like using the word addicting because it has a negative connotation with it, but it doesn't feel like progression. It doesn't feel like very compelling progression. That's the better word to use.
But I think that's not what's actually happening, because we see people quitting at Platinum, and then we see people quitting at just getting Master Rank. And then the worst part about all this is look at what happens to the true, like, beginners of the game. Let's say you turn on a player stream, you see a YouTube video, you watch a tournament, or your friend just shows you something cool about Street Fighter, and you say, today, I'm gonna buy Street Fighter 6. You've never played a fighting game before, you're completely new, and you get put into Rookie or Iron Rank. How many opponents are you actually gonna have in Iron Rank? You have, of the active player base, a 4.67% to match up with people in your player base. And these are global rankings, by the way. We know that where I live, like here in Japan, it's oversaturated with players. This game is uncharacteristically popular. You guys gotta understand, Street Fighter 6 in Japan, it's not a successful fighting game, it's a successful game.
Video game, isn't it? Yeah.
Somewhere like places in Europe or places in North America, and the lower ranks, they're just not populated. How long do you have to wait before you get a match in ranked? 2 to 3 minutes. I think if you have to wait 2 to 3 minutes at the beginner range, like if
you're waiting to wait too long, then
asking a player to wait 2 to 3 minutes to get a match is really bad. I agree. Hurt retention. So of course we're looking at it here. I have some more infographics. Let's take a look at some other popular games. So here I have Brawlhalla. Okay, somebody in my Discord put.
Okay, so remember when I mentioned before about the way it should look, the way a rank distribution should look, how it looks like a friggin' mountain? That means that there is very little rank deflation. Yeah, you'll see a couple spikes right here, and a little spike right there, and maybe a little spike right there. Maybe not even that. I think that one's fine. A little spike right here. You know, you'll find a couple spikes here and there, but that's fine. That's normal. That's a little bit of inflation, not a big deal, but it should look like a mountain that goes up and down. That is an idealistic rank system. It means that the rank system is not being exploited. It means that the rank system is doing exactly what it should be doing. But much like any other fighting game or any other competitive game, the original tiers don't have that many players, because the game, as time goes by, will move from this, where the player base is all starting at the same spot, and then very few players are at the the highest echelons of play, to eventually looking more like that. That's the way it's gonna look. So it is what it is. That's how rank distribution works.
Posted this. Thank you to who posted this. Really appreciate it. So if we look at the distribution, it peaks in the middle. So you have less people. You have quite a good player base. It's not tiny like Street Fighter 6. It slowly ramps up, peaks in the middle, and then kind of peters out, and then there are a ton of players at the second highest rank, and then very few players at the ultimate rank.
Well, then you gotta ask yourself though, if Brawlhalla is bringing in new players and compared to Street Fighter 6, which is not bringing in new players, what is the entry barrier? What is preventing people from doing it? Brawlhalla is a free-to-play game. There is no level of entry. New players can jump in at any time and not have any issues with it. Street Fighter 6 is not. It's a $60 game, and with that comes a price tag, which also comes with an inherent investment that is required from the player. That entry barrier is a huge difference. That is always going to be the case. You're always going to find newbie players in free-to-play games because of the fact that it is a easy to entry game, and you don't feel as invested into your losses at the beginning of the game because of the fact that you are a new player engaging in an existing game, and it's free. So the entry of playing it is already like a privilege, or it feels like a privilege.
Here, then let's go to the next game. Let's look at another really popular game, Valorant, in 2024.
Again, same thing, mountain scale, but Valorant, free to play game. That is a defining element that's different from these games. It's really hard to compare a rank distribution of a free to play game to a paid service game, because as time goes by, yeah, these games have been around for a while, but they've been free the whole time. Street Fighter 6 is not. So people stop buying the game at a certain point, as is the nature of it.
Valorant has a very similar kind of graph, a very similar metric as the last game we looked at, Brawlhalla. Iron 1 pretty low, Iron 2 pretty low, but then once you get to Iron 3, the player base is fairly similar to the ranks above it. So you're going to have a healthy player base here if you're a new player. And then as you get stronger, the player base dwindles down, but that's to be expected because, you know, not as many people are going to be able to get the highest rank in a very popular game compared to the lower ranks. So here,
yeah,
the new players to the game, the players who are coming in, have a healthy player base and probably won't have to wait very long in queued. Now back to Street Fighter 6. This is a bit old, this is June 5th, but just to show you like the graph, if you can compare the graphs, look at how different Street Fighter 6 is.
Yeah, but here's the thing though, and this is just due to the rank distribution system about how the rank system itself works, where you may see a little bit ups and downs, but for the most part, what you're seeing right here is a little bit of inflation, a little bit of, not much of an inflation, but a little bit, quite a bit of inflation here, and then a little bit there. Then a significant inflation increase. That right there is the problem child. And then you get all the way down to the MR category, significant increase in inflation. These two right here are the problem. These ones are fine. Honestly, they're not that big a deal. They're not having that much of a big impact. It's these two right here that are the problem, and a little bit of this too, maybe.
Compared to Valorant, or compared to Brawlhalla. It's got a nice peak. Most of the player base is in the middle. Most of the player base is somewhere in the middle. Valorant seems a little bit heavy on the like beginner intermediate rather than just straight intermediate as Brawlhalla.
And I also gotta preface, what is also an advantage that Brawlhalla and Valorant have, I guarantee it, I'm not 100% sure because I haven't kept up, but I guarantee it, both of them have rank rewards, which is something that is currently missing. Valorant. Let's take a look. Valorant. I guarantee that they have ranked rewards. Yeah, it looks like you get rank rewards based on the ranks and engaging the rank system. Has a competitive period within an episode. Each one is the size of an event, which has 3 acts. Your act measures your ranks across. Determine your highest ranks win. So basically, depending on where you're at in your rank, you can get special rewards, which can be beneficial to you. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Not uncommon. We see this mechanic of rank rewards in games like Mortal Kombat 11, which was a great system in my opinion. It's just that the MR is not great. The matchmaking system is not great.
It's just kind of whack. It's just completely different. It peaks at one rank and then peaks at the highest rank. So in my opinion, and I'm sure people are going to argue with me on this, but I think that this is not that healthy for retaining a player base.
And I actually agree. He's right. That if you have this kind of inflation, it is not healthy. But there's more to it than that. Comparing it to 2 free-to-play games, you're going to have a skewed perspective on it. And more importantly, comparing it to 2 games that have a more robust reward system and engagement system is also something that's going to skew the perspective.
I don't know. I don't like this. I don't think this is a good way to build your player base and to motivate people to play. On to the next thing. Talking about this, let's look at more of Reinhardt's tweets because he kind of expanded upon this a bit more. So then you had this tweet, which is a reply to Idom's tweet about people quitting at Master. And
I actually want to rewind this.
Let's look at motivate people to play. On to the next thing. Talking about this, let's look at more of Reinhardt's tweets because he kind of expanded upon this a bit more. So then he had this tweet, which is a reply to Idom's tweet about people quitting at Master. And he says, Master rank should be called intermediate, 1500 is nothing. Actual Master rank should start at 1800, 1900 new rank, 2000 new rank, and every 1000 MR new rank. Legend should be a rank, not a substatus. You probably can't get much higher than 2500 before a reset. So now Reinhardt is moving more into the top player mentality. What actually is a top strong player?
Okay. So, Master Rank should be called Intermediate. I get what he's saying. And here's the thing, Master Rank is intermediate. That's just the truth. Downplaying the nature of becoming an intermediate in any video game is really elitist, but it's also not a great way to sell your point. So I guarantee it. I bet that Ryan Hart got a lot of flack from a lot of people, and it probably became something bigger than it should have been. But I get what he's saying. He's looking at it from a literal, like, if you don't know who Ryan Hart is one of the most profound and prestigious fighting game players in the world. The guy knows his shit. You cannot push back on that. But the way he's presenting it is very confrontational. As much as there is truth to it, he's not selling it in a great way. So, but I do have some fundamental disagreements about this statement. So keep the name Master Rank. Master Rank is engaging enough, and it sells the idea to the person's head. Nothing wrong with it. You don't need to call it intermediate. 1500 is nothing. It doesn't really matter if it's 1500. The actual rank, Master Rank, should be at 1800. So everyone should be starting at 1500, not at 1800. But I'm assuming what he means is that you should have a master rank at, it should be called intermediate rank, and then you get master rank at 1800. Here's what it should be: master rank at 1500, grandmaster rank once you hit 1800, and then once you hit 1900, it should hit like supreme master, and then 2000 rank, new rank, then every 1000 MR is a new rank. That's a little bit much, but I do think that the moment you hit the 2000 category, it should immediately segment you out of the player base of the master rank category into the legend rank category, and you cannot get dropped down from there. At that point, you are now locked in with all the other players at that point in the legend rank. Because here's the thing about the legend rank players: they don't want to fight anyone else other than legend rank players. They don't want to play against anybody else, because the moment that you get into master rank, my biggest gripe with master rank is that you're pooled with everyone, and the pool is quite large. And because of that, the MR system, though it's supposed to meet you with other people in the same MR, it doesn't do that. It actually matchmakes you across the board, but you will get points based on where your MR is currently at. So if I'm at 1600 and someone's at 2000, well, guess what? I have a significant advantage, and all I need to do is win once to get any reward out of it. While the person who has 2000, even if they beat me twice in a row or 5 times in a row, they barely get any reward out of it at all. But if I beat them just once, then I get more rewards for them than they get for beating me 5 times in a row. That's not a good system. That's a flawed system. The actual rank system that gets you addicted is fine. It works just fine. It's the MR system that is flawed. It doesn't do what it's intended. It needs more ranks to distribute the players by appropriate skill level. Would that further segment the player base and draw out rank times, load times, queue times? Yeah, it would. But here's the thing: once you hit like minute and a half, open up the rank category where people of multiple ranks can now overlap. It's just that both parties get very little investment out of it. They just get a match. So, no party gets a lot of points. Even the one that's in the lesser rank, they shouldn't get a lot of points either. It should be very little points on the line. You're just having a match now.
And this is kind of going somewhere else, but I don't think this is something worth talking about. Like, what is actually like a strong player? What rank means that you can show up to a tournament and probably win like top 16, top 32, top 8. What rank would actually equate to strong tournament performance? And I think it's good to talk about this stuff, but I think it's missing the most important aspect of this thing. I think the whole master rank discussion is important to have, but I think if we're focusing on this rather than focusing on this,
yes,
we're kind of missing the point. Because
he's got it. This is why I like Chris. He is really, really good at understanding this. Is it important to look at the rank system and understand why high-level players may have some issues with it, of course. But here's the truth about high-level players: they're gonna keep playing the fucking game anyways, because their livelihoods are on it, or they enjoy the game, or it's the fighting game of that is the flavor of the year, or will continue to be the flavor. The top players will continue to play the game regardless of what the fucking rank really is. It just makes them feel better, and it makes them feel more addicted to it, and it helps them feel more motivated. But ultimately, at the end, all that really matters is who wins tournaments, and that's all they give a shit about, really, truly. So what should be the focus of a rank system is to keep the actual average player base engaged, because if you lose them, then you lose your money, and then the community itself totally, you know, self-cannibalizes.
In my opinion, tournament level players, sweaty players, people who watch YouTube videos like on my channel, other channel, people who are trying to actively improve in this game, no matter how you build the master rank, okay, whether you make master rank intermediate at 1500 and you make master rank start at 1800, the people who are dedicated to the game and want to get better are going to grind and get that rank, right? They're going to do it. So it doesn't really, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter how we break up the top level that much, because we, you know, dedicated players are going to try to get there no matter how you set it up. But we need to be focusing on trying to make this less top heavy and a bit more evenly distributed, so that the game can stay healthy and then people don't just get to one rank or the master rank and quit and stop playing. We have to motivate people in a different way.
So why is this happening? Why is this bad? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about why it's not good to have a low engagement rate, and then a really high inflated one, and then a secondly high inflated one. What happens is that queue times down here, queue times, are low down here. They take longer. So longer. Here, let's try this again. Fucking A. I really am. My hand is all jittery right now. Okay. Longer queue times. Ah, my hand is so jittery today. Longer time for queues. While over here, what ends up happening is that there's less longer queue times the moment you get to these categories, but guess what happens? Wider range of skill. There's a wider range of skill. Because there is a wider range of skill, you will end up having a topsy-turvy long queue. So I'll just put it down as LQ. Long queue. With the longer queues, new players will be deterred from being invested into the game, because it will be harder. It will be a more difficult barrier of entry. This whole section makes it harder for new players to feel like the game is actually active, and they wonder if whether or not they're actually investing their time into the game. While the issue with the wider skill gap is that what ends up happening is that the moment you hit this stone wall, what ends up happening is that you suddenly get a shock to your system where you don't know if you're actually in the right skill category. And then what ends up happening is that you have these wide ranges of games where you win handedly or you lose handedly, and it creates a really bipolar effect with the player experience, where they feel like I'm either winning and crushing games, or I'm getting smashed in others, and it creates a really unpleasant experience where it's like a rubber band of a gameplay experience. That's not great. It's not good at all. And that happens multiple times in the play experience. You'll go through it once and you'll steady and taper out a little bit. And then you go through it again right here. And then when you get it here, it's really jarring. I felt it immediately the moment I hit master rank. It was really jarring, and it can really kill player engagement. So it's not good. It's just not good.
And I think the way we can motivate them is with healthier player bases. I don't think people are quitting on bronze or iron because they're just getting pushed to platinum. That too. I think people are getting pushed to these higher ranks even though they're not. Okay, let's call platinum intermediate. For the sake of this argument, for the sake of this video, let's call platinum intermediate, diamond upper intermediate, and master advanced. Okay? I don't think the majority of the player base of any game is intermediate. Not just Street Fighter 6.
But here's the thing though, if you look at the other stats that we saw for like Valorant and whatnot, that's not necessarily the case. The intermediate rank is in the bare minimum, is in the middle, right? So the question at hand is, what is intermediate? What is intermediate to you? Is intermediate master rank? Is it diamond rank? Is it platinum? He says it's platinum. If that is the case, then that, by statistical standards, would be the same as the other ranks, unless, you know, if he brought intermediate down to like silver or gold, then it would be more in line with like a game like Valorant, for example, where you see it rise. But the intermediate rank starts a lot later, so it's just a steeper slope. But depends on your definition of what is an intermediate rank.
Any game, like Valorant, or what is it, Counter-Strike, I don't think the majority of the player base of any online competitive game is going to be a true intermediate with a huge disparity. That's
the thing right there, a true intermediate. What is an intermediate? And if we're really kind of trying to discern it, what most people are talking about when they're talking about an intermediate, they're talking about someone who understands gameplay mechanics as well as understands gameplay strategies. They understand what they should be doing in the game. They're just not master the ability to implement it at a consistent enough level. And here's the truth. Players at platinum don't have that skill. They are still hitting buttons. They just know a couple things, not much. The average platinum player is like a iron player in a shooter, because the skill gap between a diamond and a plat is huge, and it's even wider between that of a master and a diamond. And it's even wider between the MR systems. The moment you hit like 14 to a 1600, there's a huge gap. Between a 15 to an 1800, there's an enormous gap. So yeah,
disparity between the rank below it and like the rank above it. I got an interesting comment here on YouTube. I started playing 3 months ago in Street Fighter 6 and now I'm a master, but it looks like I know nothing about the game because I was okay, but in master everyone just beats me and I lose my points. It's very strange. Do you find that?
And that's what I'm talking about. That's that rubber band effect. What that commenter just said there, he got stonewalled the moment he got to this rank, and the moment he got there, he got a shocking experience. Is it doing what it's supposed to be doing? It is. This rank system is doing exactly what it's intended, but it's not what should be for. It's not the right way to approach rank systems. It shouldn't be like that. It should be it should be like think of it like a marathon. Ranks should be like a marathon, and by the time you get near the end, it should be grueling as fuck because you're exhausted. It's been a long journey and you're ready to just give it your all to cross the finish line because your legs are about to turn into fucking jello. That's what it should be. That's how it should feel like.
Fun? Are you having fun in master right now? Like, you get to master, you get to the highest rank, and then people just start beating you and your MR is dropping. Are you having fun with the game? Are you motivated to keep on getting better, or are you kind of playing less? Every master is better than me and you're feeling a little bit frustrated. MR should be 1200 when you start. Yeah, I think okay.
No. See, this is what I've heard this multiple times and I vastly disagree with this. Okay, so people, let's talk about that argument. 1200 to be your MR rank should be the starting MR rank. Why is this a bad idea compared to 1500? There's a reason why they chose 1500 as the MR. But here's the thing. Everyone starts at the MR system at the exact same time. Regardless if it's 15 or 12, it does not make a difference what the number is. Ultimately, at the end of the day, people will grow 500 points, making them 1700. And at the end of the day, they will grow 500 points to get them to 2000. You know, at the end of the day, it's the same number. It doesn't change anything. The outcome will remain the same. The people that are losing 100 points in 1500 will still lose 100 points in 1200. It makes no difference. The reason why they chose 1500 instead of 12 is because 1500 offers a wide enough numerical value to 0. So that way, if you lose so many games, it's eventually going to pin you against the people that you're supposed to be paired up against. But here's the problem. The MR system, when you do it like this, you have to lose so many games by the time that you actually get put to your actual skill bracket. So why is this a problem? This is a problem because it hurts. It does a great job of creating a realistic depiction of your actual skill level. It's a good job of that, but the issue at hand is the gambling system they have going on, or the bet system. So if you're a 1500 player and you go against a 2000 MR player, here's the thing: if you win against that 2000 MR player, you get plus what, 15 points or something like that. But if the 2000 player beats you, he only gets plus 1. This player has no motivation to play against him. Obviously, he's significantly better, but if he beats him once, he has every reason not to play against him again. And all these players, all of this skill gap between all these players, everyone here is pulled in the same bracket when they're not supposed to be. That's the problem with the MR system. The MR system assumes that everyone is a god player just because you make it to master rank, but that's not the case. It turns into a blood pool then, where everyone's pulled in the same rank. Now, it's going to try to find you with other players at 1500, but this happens all the time. Every like 1 to 7 matches, I will fight against someone that's at least 300 points above my skill level. It happens. It's not the end of the friggin' world, but it happens. And even if you fight people against your rank and you have to lose 20 games before you get down to the 1200 MR during the rank reset, well, that's not very fun either. So the system is that the MR system is not doing a good enough job of maintaining player retention for the casual players, and for the professional players, the people that are looking to get better and commit to the game. They don't want to participate in this system because if they lose a game, it penalizes them so heavily if they lose against someone that's much lower ranked than them, and it's just one game. You know, it's not a good system for all players involved. Everyone gets penalized. We all go down together.
I think for sure for master, regardless of how you break master up, I think starting at 15 is too high. You should start at 1200. I think you should start lower, and then
it won't change anything. It'll be the same issue.
More your range, and you're not going to start losing right away, because I think it's really like, take it from a newer player's perspective. You get into master, yay, I got the highest rank, this is fun, I got the highest rank, I've been working hard, you feel great, the sense of achievement, you got into master rank, and then you take like a day off to relax and chill and just kind of like enjoy your progress. Then you say, okay, I'm gonna push for higher MR.
Okay, and before he goes on with that, I'm also going to point out this is another thing that they should consider doing. This is a simple solution that they can do. Let's say that you're at 1200 as a starting point. We'll just use that as our base, and then you finish the season with 1700. Well, during the next season, you go right back to 1200, and so all these players are pulled back in the same category, and then you have to start the whole grueling process all over again. The better thing to do is that during the new season, instead of sending them back to 1200, they should be just back down to 1500 instead, so that way they are not pooled against them. Now, I know that they're doing that now, but I think the pool is still too close, you know, based on the information they provided so far. I gotta let my dog out. She's kind of whining to let me out right now, so I'll be right back. All right. I'll have to let her back in a little bit. But yeah, I know I'm pausing this a lot, but there's a lot to talk about.
And you get to 15, and you're fighting against true 1500s, who I think have a decent handle of the game. Okay, regardless if you say they're advanced, upper intermediate, whatever, they have a decent handle of the game. So you get in, you're fighting against 1500s, and you get smashed all the way down to 1200. Now you're thinking, wow, am I really a master player? Then you open Twitter and you see people saying, oh, masters aren't really advanced, they're intermediate, they should make master higher. And then you're thinking, well, yeah, I lost all my MR and now I'm demotivated. You're hearing all these people telling you you're not actually good at the game. Your results are kind of showing that, and I think it just frustrates people and it makes people quit, and that's why we see people just stopping once they get to
yes,
I think
that is exactly what's happening.
In a player-based level, like
he's got the diagnosis right, just not the solution. At least not my opinion. I don't think he's got the right solution, but respectfully. But his diagnosis is completely spot on. He's got it figured out about what the problem is.
He's playing a lot. Number 4 here, 1400 to 1500 MR. The people who are playing, this is actually the second highest. So these people are actively playing. They got into Master, they kept on playing, and they're stuck at 1400. So this isn't that healthy, I don't think, because the next one is people who just didn't try at all, and then the next is just people who are still trying but can't get higher, and then you get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which are all like tournament level players, more or less. And it's the tiniest representation in the game. What I think I would like to see from Street Fighter 6 is to do something to boost the lower ranks, to maintain a healthy player base for the new players, so they have people to fight against, and not to push them to the higher ranks, which makes them quit the game because they think they got to the highest level and now there's nothing really worth doing later on. And then I would also like to see them kind of rework the master system a little bit. I haven't spent too much time thinking about this, to be perfectly honest with you, but I would like to see something done with this so that people just don't quit at master.
Okay, so let's talk about a solution that we could do. And I have the perfect solution. I feel like I do, at least. With my authority. Listen to my authority and bow to me, motherfuckers. Okay, so this is my solution. It's a two-step solution. It sounds complex, but it's not. It's not at all. So you got your ranks, right? You got your rookie. I'll even change colors so that way it's a little easier to see. What's the color? Here we go. Yeah. So you got your rookie. We'll call it R. You got your iron. You got your bronze. You got your silver, your gold, your platinum, your diamond, and then your master. Keep this system. The system's fine. What should be going on is that between rookie, iron, silver, what they got going on is that currently with these 4 slots right now, you can be matchmaked against each other, which is what exists currently. The moment you hit gold, you are now locked in between gold and platinum. And then after you get to platinum, you are locked in between platinum to diamond. Sometimes you'll get a few little bits of gold matches here and there, a little bit, but not much. And the moment you get to diamond, you get locked into diamond into master. This system is fine. There's nothing wrong with this system. It works just fine. But the problem at hand is, like we mentioned before, there's not enough irons and rookies and bronze players to play against each other. So how do you fix this solution? Simple. Add bots. Add bots. By adding bots into this category, you will eventually push the players into gold and platinum. And by doing so, you will keep these players engaged. Now, don't add bots immediately into their play session. What you want to do is create a few players. You want to matchmake them against real players. But if they wait for more than a minute and a half, then you put them against bots. You just get them into a match. It does not matter. Just get them into a freaking match. And if it means letting them rank up, then let them rank up. But, at a certain point, they'll eventually find a pool of players that they can play with consistently. If they lose 3 matches, then bot them again. keep botting them until they eventually get enough awareness about the game. This is part one. Simple thing is add bots just during this section of the game. So the MR system is the big question at hand. This is my honest opinion. The moment you hit master rank, there should be 7 new ranks. There should be master rank. There should be grand master rank. There should be supreme master rank. There should be we'll call it legend rank. Well, after that we'll call it legendary master rank. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? We'll call it legendary legendary supreme rank, and then we'll call it the final rank Street Fighter rank. I don't know, you call it the fuck you want. Street Fighter rank, we'll call that the final rank. That's the literal last rank of the game. However, the moment that you're in this rank, MR applies immediately. The moment you get into master rank, you should be applying a MR system immediately at 1500. It should be visible so that way you can see what your actual skill level is. But there's a progression to work towards. See, even though that you're losing and winning, you see a bar fill up saying, oh, I'm making my way up the ranks a little bit. I'm climbing up there. I'm getting that addiction. I'm chasing that dopamine, motherfucker. I'm feeling it. I got the combat high every time I climb up these ranks, you know, and make it grindy as fuck if you have to. You know, add in some win streaks, loss streaks, and stuff like that. Tekken's later entry elements, like its later rank system, is not perfect, but I think it's like when you get to the like last 3 to 4 ranks where you see those really high echelon players fight for those last 3 to 4 ranks, that's when the game's most exciting to watch, because there's so much on the line, because there's so much grind time that went into it, and if you lose too much, you lose a lot of progress. So it's really fun to watch competitive players fight for those ranks because they are so much more on the line. Implement that same system, but use the MR system to use the matchmaking appropriately. So have players be segmented through these. You may say like, well, if you are a SF rank, or like let's call instead of an SF rank, let's say that you're a legendary supreme rank, and then you play against someone in this rank. Well, you know, what's the, you know, because there's so much a disparity between the two of them, you know, these guys should be segmented. Kind of. It should stay segmented much like this, but the longer the queue time goes on, it should be like this, where you're queued in right here, but once you hit a minute in queue time, it extends it down 1 branch. And then it's a little bit longer, like, you know, another minute goes by, another branch. Another minute goes by, another branch, until you're matchmaked accordingly. That's what it should be. That's the solution. Then what's the point of the MR system? The point of the MR system should be to distribute your actual skill level. It should be using the MR plus your actual rank right here to distribute what is the players that we are making you fight against. Because this person right here could actually be like a 1700, you know? So you'll be playing against him. You'll still be making progress in your meter, but you'll be gaining MR based on plus 3, plus, you know, in this case, plus 30, plus, you know, 3 or whatever. But you don't lose the progress of the rank itself. You're still getting locked in with these other players at that high MR. Once you get to these high MRs and you're locked in with these other players over here, mostly locked in at the very least, then at the very least, you're gonna try to seek out those players. Now, the moment you get to like these ranks right here, you should have more control over your matchmaking. You should be able to say you don't want, the moment you hit legendary master rank, you should be able to say, I don't want to fight anyone below my MR rank. So that way you lock yourself out of the players that you feel, you know, the professional players can lock in with the players that they want to play against. Or what you can do is that you can just simply lock them in the moment they hit legendary master. You know, there's a lot of ways that you can navigate around this. This is a better system overall because it filters players more effectively, while at the same time offers enough player avenues. Because here's the thing, this pool of players that we got going on here with This huge pool of players right here is too large of a pool to use just the MR system. It needs more filtration. It's a huge pool of players, so there's a rubber band effect that occurs. Yeah, a lot of the upper echelon players end up getting pushed up here a lot quicker over a period of time because they grind the game a hell of a lot harder than anyone else does. But it's not uncommon for the matchmaking system to pin you up against someone 100, 200 levels against you. And even if it is, let's say that you're constantly getting matched up with someone in your skill level. But here's the problem at hand. This huge bracket right here is all unranked, and they're choosing not to participate because they don't want to participate in this really volatile pool. And that's the problem. You need to get these unranked players to participate in here, and you need to get these unranked or these Platinum 1 players to participate in here, and you need to get all these new players to keep playing the game. Well, fill them with bots so they keep climbing up here where the rest of the players are at. Get them addicted, get them feeling good, and then they'll learn as they keep playing. You know, if you want to get better at the game, there's only two methods to it. Either you get coached or you play a lot. And the best way of doing that is just getting them to play as much as possible. And then eventually they'll start learning. That's the only way you learn.
And I think the way to stop people,
I gotta let my dog in. I'll keep this going.
Is to stop pushing them to that rank and keeping them to where they probably should belong, which is somewhere around here. I think people quit in Plat 1 because the game gets hard. Yeah, it does get hard, but it shouldn't get hard at Platinum, in my opinion. It should start getting harder at Platinum. This shouldn't be a walk in the park, because that's not helping you get a better handle of the game. If you can do the same playstyle in Bronze, Silver, and Gold and get into Platinum, what's the point of doing Silver and Gold if you're more or less your same playstyle? It's just a matter of grinding, right? You just spend more time doing the exact same thing, making the same kind of plays, making the exact same mistakes, and then you get pushed to Platinum because the game forces you there. What's the point of having these two ranks? Just like a time sink? If you put time into the game, you'll get here. Then, oh, all of a sudden, now the game's hard. Good luck getting here. Right? Then you have the couple of like the motivated players who actually want to do that, and they get pushed here too because you can still get to master with a 40% win.
So let's talk about that. Like, and here's where he's got a good point. If you push these players that are from the newbie section, especially when you add bots here into this pool, they'll eventually get steamrolled by these platinum players because they didn't actually learn any skills. That's inevitably going to occur. But guess what? That's already occurring, and that always occurs no matter what. There's always going to be a hill to climb for anyone. We see that in Valorant. There's always a mountain to climb that looks like this. You may not have this trope here, but it'll look like that. And players get stonewalled right here every time, or right here every time. It's just the problem I have is you have so much inflation right here, and that's due to the fact that players, the moment they hit platinum rank, they start fighting a wider range of players. But it's not as shell-shocking as it is here, because this is crazy how much of a difference this is. This doesn't look like much, but that is a 2% difference. 2% difference in a player pool is huge when it comes to like 2%. Like if you put 2% of like 2,000 players, that's 200 players. That's a huge increase in difference in player pool. That's an enormous difference. So it's something that you can't look past. Like, right? Yeah. Or no, my math is wrong. In any case, it's still a lot, you know. Give me 1 minute. I gotta let my dog in now because she's barking at me. Great. Yeah, I was saying that 2% is 200, of 2,000. No, what is it, 400? I think. Yeah, 400 players, almost 500 players practically. That's a huge difference.
Right, and I don't know. I don't think it's. I think it's. There are too many like reality checks for newer players. It's like, oh, the game's hard, I quit. Oh, I got master, I got the highest rank, I quit. It should slowly rank people up there. So chat, what do you think? Like I said, I live in Japan and this game has been incredibly popular here, so I don't really feel the effects of this strange distribution because I get matches within seconds at any rank, and I think
that's due to the fact that, like he said, it's a very popular game in Japan, but in the West, you will see a lot more of this kind of problem going on, especially if you go further west, where like Europe and stuff like that. It's just comes down to the factor that this issue is prevalent due to the fact that fighting games don't have that much, like, it has a strong cultural blend with the West, but not as strong as the East.
Most of the players here do too. But let me know what it's like in your country. How long do you wait if you're in the iron, the bronze, the silver, the gold matches? How long do you wait in queue? Do you get matches quickly? And if you're a player who quit at platinum, diamond, or master, why did you quit and why weren't you really motivated to keep on pushing? Be honest, just be respectful in your comments. And I just want to know, how do you guys feel about this rank system and what improvements, if any, would you like to see? I'm scared about the comment section of this video. I think it's going to be kind of crazy. Try to keep it civil, okay guys? I don't want to have to delete crazy comments and stuff. Anyways, that's it for me on this topic. Thank you all so much for watching.
Okay, so that covers the entirety of the video. And again, like I mentioned before, you may think that like having 7 different ranks is too extreme. You know, there's too many different ranks. But the thing about having 7 ranks is that if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, you have 7 different ranks. Of those 7 ranks, guess what? They are all still over connected once you make MR. The moment that you're still playing against all these players, but you're less likely to fight these players in this bracket because of the MR system mixed in with this rank system at the same time. It's going to make sure that you find players at 1500, your current rank, plus people within these 3 ranks that you're in, and it'll help curb the issue of having people at that immediate like the moment they join the master rank, they immediately just get a shell shock of like, boom, holy crap, this suddenly just got enormously difficult. The player pool is way wider. It was a lot worse too, from what I understand, on season 1 of this game too, because they didn't have the MR system right away on launch, or for at least like halfway through the system. They added it in halfway through that season, that year, and so the pool was really deadly then, and that was really jarring for a lot of people. So it's one of those things where it's a clear case that they need a couple systems in place to kind of like regulate that better. I don't think that the MR system is a flop. I just don't think that it does a great job of creating an addiction, creating a positive feedback, or a compelling way of progress to keep people engaged. That's really what's missing. That progression feeling, and that's the same feeling that even casual players and professional players are both missing out on. Because here's the thing about casuals want to earn these ranks to say that they made an achievement on their streams or at a personal level. It's a personal sense of achievement. The reason why like higher level players want to get to these higher ranks is, yeah, personal sense of achievement, but the real reason why is they want to be segmented from the rest of these players, so that way they can keep getting better. They want to get away from the rest of these players so they never have to play them ever again. They want to get away from all the ranks right here just so they can play these players, just so they can get better. That's why they, these high level players that go to tournaments and stuff like that want to do this. They don't want to play against the other players. If you ever see like tournament players talk about their experience in the West compared to how it is in the East, they're extremely envious of the East players because of the fact that they have some of the hottest talent out there, and they have access to them on a consistent basis. And many of them are like, well, why don't you play against them with rollback netcode? You can easily play it. At the end of the day, even with rollback netcode, playing across the ocean is still playing across the fucking ocean. There's going to be an enormous amount of lag, and it's really hard to tolerate, and it's not a stable environment. And guess what? These players are probably not going to want to play against the West players because of that reason either. It's just a poor experience all around. They'd rather just play against each other in the tournaments then, because then at least it's so, you know, there's something to it. You know, it's a stable environment. So that's a major component to it. All right. Well, this was a fun topic to cover. I thought we would discuss it, and I thought it might be fun to talk about a little bit. There was some other things about it that I thought. Let's see here. Yeah, I was thinking about like how in this game or in ranks, like when you see yourself climb up a rank, it's a lot like an RPG level up. You know, when you see yourself rank up in a competitive game, it gives you that same feeling in like a JRPG where you see your character level up. It's the progression bar building in front of you, and that feels very rewarding. It's a good solution. So, you know, I think that the master rank system does exactly what it's supposed to do, which is to protect protect new players from veteran players and keep them from like being hounded on, because that's something that happens in certain fighting games, where like, for example, Tekken, or, you know, Tekken has a notorious issue of like what, you know, people call like smurfing. And that's because the system match makes you according to your rank, or in this case, Tekken prowess. But the thing is that it's extremely exploitable, which makes it very annoying and very irritating and exploitable and not great. Which is, you know, it's its approach to doing it, but it's fine. But still, you know, the smarter solution would be to simply create a more robust matchmaking system, but also a more robust ranking system, and make the progression longer and more engaging. I think that adding 7 more ranks after the master rank would make it more engaging, because then you have a new progression. The moment you hit master rank, you're now in a whole new league and a whole new rank system that you have to work your way up all over again. It's like a prestige. It's almost like prestiging, you know, in a fighting game to a certain degree. The thing is that you only prestige once, and this is also another thing I would mention in those 7 ranks that you would add. You can get demoted all the way back to master rank, no matter what. You can automatically get pulled all the way back. You can get all the way up from legend rank all the way down to master rank. It should be a variable of change. There should be a large variable of change. But the first several ranks of the game should be a training wheels, kind of like, you know, if anyone's like done martial arts in their life, and you've ever obtained a black belt, a common thing that you're told by a lot of masters is, now the real training begins, because you getting a black belt doesn't make you a master. It just means that you mastered the basics. That's what it should mean in many ways for this. But don't say that part out loud. Don't make that quiet. You know, you want to say that. That's supposed to be the quiet part that's said. You know, that's not something you want to have. These words like bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, master, because it creates an addictive feedback loop in the person's mind, and you hide the 7 ranks beyond, so that way once they get to master rank, they realize, oh, there's a larger progression pool afterwards, and then they actually begin the real journey of actually legitimately growing as a player if they wish to. But everyone is still somewhat pooled together. You know, you have a chance to play against top players, but not really, unless, you know, you really work your way up towards it. Your odds of fighting them are super slim. It's not the current way it is right now with the MR system. It's not uncommon to get paired up against a 1900 or 1700 at 15 or 1600. You know, it's not uncommon. It doesn't happen often, but it's like 1 every 10 matches, you know, and it's nothing wrong with that, but there's too wide of a range of player pool, and that makes it very volatile. So, and which makes the experience very volatile.